I think the important part is that we're not just generating pictures in our mind out of anxiety, that somehow there appears to be a contact with a level of reality that we don't normally address.
I felt like I was within, at the most, 24 hours of dying if I let myself die. And somehow it did not seem at all incredible at this point that it was up to me whether I lived or died. And it's something I never would have believed before, but it seemed totally obvious right then.
He had come as a natural scientist, as a scientist from the conventional mold, and had had an experience that totally baffled him. Another thing was the fact that he was quite convinced that he was responsible, largely responsible, for his survival. That his will to live, his powerful sense of having to stay alive, in Shelley's case for the sake of a newly born son, was the ingredient that enabled him to survive an outrageous set of experiences.
My wife did, you know what, in retrospect, was pure genius. There were no kids allowed on this ward, but she knew what it was I was trying to save my life for. So she took our kid, who was 6 months old, put him in a shopping bag, hid him, brought him up, brought him into my room, and in fact reminded me what the whole thing was about. When I saw him, it was like, that cinched the question. I had to stay alive. Let's go in your chest, where all the red soldiers are. So let's call them and tell them all to bring their squirt guns. And when they're all following you, we'll go into the other room where all the white soldiers are and tell them to bring their squirt guns. Tell all the soldiers to shoot all that gooey stuff into the holes in the monster, plugging up all those holes. And as the gooey stuff goes in there, watch the monster get smaller. Just watch the monster shrink. What the out-of-the-body experience did, what I became aware of, was that whether I lived or died did not depend on the kinds of rules that the doctors understood. The other thing that I think has been a major transformation is that I don't believe, as I did at the time this experience unfolded, that the end of life was the end of everything. I believe now very strongly that there is a life after death.
My personal belief is that there is continuity, that it would be outrageous for me at this point to believe that this was all there was. If you ask me what I know for sure, I'm in the same ambiguous position that the rest of the human race is in.
I feel true to myself that there is something that transcends beyond when you die. I have to say that the out-of-the-body experience was probably the key thing, because it is very hard once you realize you can have your consciousness and your body to separate, not to at least entertain the idea that even when your body is gone, your consciousness may go on.
Independent accounts of the out-of-body experience are remarkably similar. What they tell us about the nature of human consciousness may have great significance. The fact that the experience cannot be adequately explained by science has led many to question the finality of death. Is there life after death? Today there are many who've gone over the brink and returned to tell us about it. They do not offer proof of life after death, but their reports give us a new perspective on the possibility that death is not an ending, but a beginning.